Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following. IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. Lawmakers hope to make the most of their 10-week short session. They reconvened at the statehouse this week.
This House will come to order.
Coming up, the top issues they'll debate and whether they'll be able to find common ground. One thing after another delayed results from the standardized ISTEP exam students took last year. The numbers are finally in, and the drop in scores is dramatic. Our StateImpact education team breaks down the results and explains what's being done to lessen impact on students and teachers. Shifting gears, the available helium is declining.
The first element at the beginning of the universe, helium and nitrogen, and it's a luxury item. Who can believe that?
It means you might pay more for balloons, but it could also affect things you didn't consider, like your health care. We'll explain. Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. The legislature is officially in session and lawmakers have just 10 weeks to accomplish an ambitious agenda. As Brandon Smith reports, many of the topics that will dominate their debates aren't new.
We must be free to act according to our consciences formed by our faith.
Indiana's statehouse became the subject of nationwide scrutiny last year after Governor Mike Pence signed the controversial Religious Freedom Restoration Act into law.
We're here today to say this isn't about cakes, this isn't about pictures.
The backlash was swift, and Democrats argue the damage hasn't been repaired.
Our state's economic future demands that we attract new Hoosiers and retain current ones of all kinds. If you have dreams for a better future, we want you here in Indiana. Already, our civil rights statute has engendered much discussion in the post-RFRA era.
House Democrats are putting that issue at the top of their agenda for this year's session. They want to pass civil rights protections that will ensure people can't be discriminated against based on sexual orientation or gender identity.
I recognize that for some of you, this change might violate long-standing points of view. That's okay. But a decisive amendment to our civil rights law will make the questions go away. It will fully heal our state's image in the modern world by ensuring equality and fairness. And if you're unsure it's the right thing to do, at least embrace an end to the whole thing.
Senate Republicans unveiled their own proposal before the session kicked off. It includes exemptions for religious institutions, but the bill isn't one of their legislative priorities.
This is a group effort, and we don't have consensus on the LGBT bill, understandably so. It's controversial. We have people all over the place on those issues, and we're going to be discussing that, throughout the session.
Pence made no mention of the LGBT rights issue when he released his legislative priorities either, but says next week's State of the State address could be the right time to weigh in. One issue that both Democrats and Republicans can agree on is that road funding needs to be a priority. Pence has proposed a 4-year, $1 billion funding plan that would cover maintenance and improvement costs for state roads, using a combination of reserves and money from future state budgets. Pence has also spoken out in support of a plan authored by Republican Senator Brad Hirschman, which would take more than $400 million out of local tax reserve funds and funnel that into local road improvements.
It is part of the transportation debate. Obviously, we have to have a discussion about long-term transportation funding, but putting close to $500 million into local communities around this state in an immediate fashion to help them with infrastructure issues at no tax increase, no cost to Hoosier taxpayers, I think makes a very strong statement for our commitment not only to infrastructure but to fiscal responsibility.
Democrats call the Republican plans short-sighted. They want to divert sales tax revenue from gasoline and special fuels and split the money between state and local roads.
Before discussing new revenue, we first have to use the dollars we've already taken from the people. If much of it's merely being banked away in an account, well, the storm clouds are bursting and the rain is starting to fall. We will not generate new income for the public good if the basic economic needs of our state and its hundreds of communities are unmet.
Legislators also hope to tackle the ongoing controversy surrounding the ISTEP exam. There's talk on both sides of the aisle of ditching the assessment altogether and moving toward a nationally crafted test.
It's time to pull the plug in favor of something less sensational and more functional. Let's return these tests to being the boring diversions that they are, so our teachers again can dedicate their energies toward the joy of science, reading, and critical thinking.
This isn't a budget year, so lawmakers only have until mid-March to get through their agenda. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Brandon Smith.
If we had to boil this down to the issues that would dominate the session in a nutshell, it seems that it would be anti-discrimination legislation, road funding, drug abuse, and standardized testing. Our State House reporter Brandon Smith joins us now. Brandon, does that seem about right?
Yeah, that seems about right. Most of these issues are part of the agendas of each caucus. That's Democrats and Republicans in both chambers, particularly road funding and ISTEP. Now, protecting LGBT people from discrimination isn't a Republican priority, but it is a debate that might overshadow almost everything else.
Now, the issue many people are watching most closely is the debate over civil rights and protection from discrimination for the LGBT community. How soon could legislators start debating that hot-button issue, and is there a chance that protective legislation will pass?
Well, the bill will originate in the Senate. Senate Republicans unveiled their proposal here almost 2 months ago. But Senate GOP leader David Long says the bill won't be heard in committee until later this month, and that's going to be very close to the deadline for which bills must pass out of their original chamber. So is there a chance it will pass? Absolutely, but I wouldn't say at this point that it's likely.
You mentioned the competing proposals to fund the state's infrastructure. Don't all of them involve a tax increase, and is that really likely considering it's an election year?
Not all of them involve a tax increase, actually. Senate Republicans, House Democrats, and the governor have each proposed plans that involve a mixture of spending down reserves and some bonding. Now, House Republicans and Senate Democrats have proposed tax increases in their plans, a mix of state and local increases. And I'd say those are a little less likely to happen precisely because of this year's election.
Drug abuse has been a big topic over the past year, with Governor Pence creating his own drug abuse task force to look into the issue. Now, last week here, we talked about 2 pieces of legislation that would make pseudoephedrine, which is an ingredient necessary for meth production, more difficult to get. Are there other ideas or proposals that are coming out of Pence's drug task force?
Well, the task force wants to make naloxone. This is a drug that immediately halts the effects of an opioid overdose. They want to make that easier to access by not requiring a doctor's prescription to get it. There's another proposal that would expand the state's lifeline law to give people under the age of 21 immunity from drug charges if they seek emergency help for themselves or someone else. And then a Senate Republican proposal backed by the governor would create stricter criminal penalties for drug dealers.
All right, thank you very much, Brandon. A few of the bills lawmakers hope to move through the General Assembly quickly this session include measures to protect schools, teachers, and students from what were expected to be low scores on the statewide ISTEP test. And now that those scores have been made public, it's become more urgent than ever. Following a series of delays, scores from the ISTEP administered during the 2014-15 school year have finally been released. But the picture they paint is not pretty for Indiana schools. StateImpact Indiana education reporter Rachel Morello takes a look at the round of results.
Scores fell sharply on all portions of the test this year. Statewide, only 67.3% of students in grades 3 through 8 passed the English and language arts portion of the test, and just 61% passed math. Last year, those pass rates sat in the low 80s. Across the state, the number of students who passed both sections of the test dropped by more than 20%. Only 53.5% of students passed both sections this year, compared to 74% in 2014. Here's a look at some of the districts that fared especially poorly. Gary Community Schools only had a 21.9% passing rate. Medora down south and Indianapolis Public Schools sat at 25 and 29%. Both of those schools were in the 50% range last year. And Rising Sun Ohio Community Schools only had a 36% passing rate. They were at 73% in 2014. People expected the scores to be low this year because it was the first time that Indiana tested a new set of academic standards adopted after they dropped the Common Core. In response to the numbers, State Superintendent Glenda Ritz reiterated the call for reforms to Indiana's testing system, something other legislators have called for too. House Speaker Brian Bosma has said the General Assembly will talk about moving to an off-the-shelf test in the future. Legislators will also work with Ritz, her Department of Education, and the State Board of Education to safeguard schools. Lawmakers in both chambers have already put forth bills this session to untie ISTEP scores from teacher evaluations, as well as allow the state to assign a school its better A through F grade between the 2013-14 and 2014-15 school years.
Legislative leaders say they hope to have ISTEP-related measures on the governor's desk for signature by the end of January. Superintendent Ritz has also said schools can expect to see finalized A through F grade calculations sometime this month. Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. What do these two things have in common? We'll explain how a helium shortage is impacting all sorts of things. And members of the historic 1976 IU basketball team were honored this week. Their coach Bob Knight skipped the ceremony, but his spirit was certainly present. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
We are a nation of explorers. We seek new ways of living, of thinking, and of expressing ourselves. We take risks. We learn from experience, and we keep moving forward. That's why we encourage and celebrate the explorer in all of us.
$10,000.
15? 15, you think?
20, 21,000?
600.
20.
18 fine. 24.
It's at least 40.
Look at it.
4,500,000.
650.
20.
650.
This textile would be worth about $500,000.
$500,000?
No way.
I knew it. It's just a blanket.
Laying on the back of a chair. Well, sir, you have a national treasure.
Wow.
A national treasure. Congratulations.
I can't believe this.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Well, it's been a busy week across the state. Now we go over to Barbara Brozier for news headlines. She has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. Governor Mike Pence will be delivering his State of the State address next week. The governor sees this as an opportunity to speak directly to Hoosiers about the items he feels are important. He's expected to touch on many of his legislative priorities during the speech. As we mentioned earlier, the governor is expected to address LGBT rights. And Governor Pence has a significant fundraising advantage over his Democratic challenger. Likely Democratic nominee John Gregg actually outraised Pence in the first half of last year and finished the year with $3.7 million in contributions and $3.5 million remaining cash on hand. Pence ended the year dwarfing the Democrats' numbers with $6.8 million cash on hand after bringing in $5.1 million over the year. Gregg is doing significantly better fundraising for this campaign than he did during his last match against Pence. Several local police departments will soon be armed with an overdose intervention drug credited with saving lives. The Attorney General's office awarded grants to police departments in several counties throughout the state. The grants aim to train and equip officers with the opioid overdose intervention drug called naloxone. But before the departments can start using the drug, they have to learn how it works.
And it reverses the side effects that the opiate causes.
The officers in this room have seen an increasing number of overdoses over the past few years. A report from the Centers for Disease Control says heroin-related overdose deaths skyrocketed 286% in just the past decade. The state hopes a drug called naloxone could help change the outcome of those cases. The drug essentially reduces the effects of an opioid overdose and is credited with saving the lives of nearly 200 Hoosiers.
In Vigo County, when they did have a save, it really made a believer out of the law enforcement officer that gave the drug. And he really did not believe when he gave the drug that the patient was actually, or the victim was actually going to make it. He really thought it was going to be a death.
State law requires first responders to go through training before they can start using the drug. Officers from Indiana University, Monroe County, and Ellettsville are learning how to administer naloxone as a nasal spray. It can also be given as a shot. And state law protects them if they have to use the drug on a call.
The law provides civil immunity to anybody, and the law was written to basically cover any situation that could possibly be thought of. There is absolutely no reason for law enforcement or first responder to be afraid of giving this medication.
Attorney General Greg Zeller's office is using a $1.3 million settlement with a drug company to distribute naloxone kits to agencies that need them. Naloxone is also available as a prescription for people who have family members that use opioids. Senate Republicans have announced they want to fully fund the third winner of the state's Regional Cities Initiative. In April, the General Assembly allocated $84 million taken from the tax amnesty program to award $42 million each to 2 regions as part of their Regional Cities Initiative. But the Indiana Economic Development Corporation and Governor Mike Pence instead chose 3 winners, declaring their intent to ask the legislature for more money from tax amnesty to pay $42 million each to all 3 regions. GOP lawmakers are pushing a bill that would use some of that extra money raised through tax amnesty to fund the 3rd region.
I think it's another example of good economic development. It's also a creative idea that it ties regions together to work together for economic development rather than just having everybody fight against each other in individual cities.
Indiana's North Central, Northeast, and Southwest regions were all chosen for the Regional Cities Initiative. The U.S. is facing a series of new gun regulations that would affect background checks and open-air gun markets. J.D. Gray reports that this would impact gun transactions throughout Indiana.
President Obama outlined plans to increase gun regulation by reinterpreting existing laws. New executive orders will affect background checks, gun sellers, and funding for ATF agents and investigators.
Having stronger national procedures, stronger national laws will help make Indiana safer. Other states have taken these steps on their own, but Indiana hasn't. Since Indiana hasn't taken these steps, it's good to see this sort of thing.
Helmke says that Indiana is among the worst in the country with regards to gun safety regulations, ranking between 35th and 40th. The executive actions by the president would also affect open-air gun markets that take place throughout Indiana by requiring them to conduct background checks before making sales. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm J.D. Gray.
Duke Energy Indiana plans to build a 17-megawatt solar facility at the Naval Support Activity Crane. If the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission approves the project, Duke Energy will own and operate the facility, which is expected to be placed into commercial service this year. An Orange County commissioner says the Paoli Bridge that collapsed under the weight of a semi-truck on Christmas Day could be restored. Commissioners met with engineers to discuss the future of the historic structure on Wednesday. The bridge was built in 1880 and has been restored several times since then. The county is waiting to hear back from the truck company's insurance before moving forward. Police say the driver of the truck that caused the damage ignored weight limit signs when she proceeded onto the bridge. There's new federal legislation requiring companies to phase out of the use of microbeads. Indiana passed its own ban on the tiny plastic particles last year. The tiny plastic microbeads accumulate in lakes and rivers over time. There are concerns about microbeads' impact on the environment and questions about their health effects as well. Microbeads can be found in common cosmetic products.
Well, it is up to the federal government on a regulated product to decide whether something's going to be in the stream of commerce. So it's not for a local decision, it's not for a state decision, it's a national decision.
The federal law President Obama signed requires companies to stop producing products with microbeads by 2018. The master plan of Lake Monroe served to guide the comprehensive management, development, and use of the lake for recreation, national resources, and agricultural resources. The Army Corps of Engineers has drafted an updated plan that it says is based on regional and local needs. There has only been one master plan since the original was approved in 1967. The DNR has submitted comments on the plan, and the public is encouraged to submit some as well. The deadline to submit comments is January 14th. Well, after weeks of waiting, the slopes at Paoli Peaks are finally open. The popular ski destination aims to start its season in mid-December, but unseasonably warm temperatures delayed the snowmaking process.
There's finally some powder on the slopes at Paoli Peaks, where skiers and snowboarders got in their first runs of the season on Monday. Snowmakers have been working all week to get a good base of powder down so they can open all of the trails, and Mother Nature is finally cooperating.
Once it reaches 20 degrees, we can make about a foot of snow in 12 to 24 hours, depending on, how long it stays 20 degrees.
Starting the season 3 weeks late will impact Paoli's bottom line.
It plays a part in our overall numbers. We have such a short season to begin with. Usually it's mid-December through mid-March. You're talking maybe 90 days.
But the owners are hopeful they'll be able to recoup some of their losses. They hope to keep the slopes open through March. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Lindsay Wright.
And we just can't get enough of this video. What you're seeing is footage from this year's Bloomington Polar Plunge. The event started 12 years ago and continues to grow. This year, about 400 people participated. And Joe, you can see it was pretty frosty, temperatures in the low 30s on New Year's Day. And these folks, they just went diving into the water. What an exhilarating way to start the new year, although I was not among them.
I was going to say, was that you with the camera?
Certainly not, no.
It's been warmer, but that water has to be
Yeah, not
cold.
warm enough to get in the lake, I don't think.
Thanks, Barbara. An element that plays a critical role in science and medicine is becoming harder and harder to find. Helium is the second most abundant element in the universe, but there's a limited supply here on Earth. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, demand for helium has increased over the past several years. And as Barbara Brosier reports, that's causing prices to climb and researchers to worry.
Believe it or not, we've been doing this since 1979.
For more than 3 decades, blast-off balloons has helped people in Bloomington celebrate their biggest milestones.
My biggest thing in life, bigger than anything else, is that I love to see people happy. I absolutely love it.
There have been lots of graduations and plenty of birthday parties, but over the past few years, the number of people buying balloons has dropped and business has slowed.
Prices have gone up astronomical, just through the roof. And so it's lowered business. A lot of people can't afford balloons.
It's becoming a lot more expensive for the owners of blast-off balloons to buy helium because of a worldwide shortage of the element. They estimate they're paying 5 or 6 times as much for tanks of helium than they were 10 years ago.
Who would have thought that a simple balloon would be a luxury item? But it is.
Helium is a non-renewable resource that's only found in a few locations throughout the world. It's a byproduct of natural gas production, and the United States is the largest producer of helium in the world. But the resources could eventually be depleted.
It's not very abundant, so it's about 0.00005% of the atmosphere here on Earth.
The U.S. government owns much of the country's helium and is also the nation's largest consumer of the resource. But the element is also used often in daily life at hospitals around the world. Liquid helium is the only resource that can cool superconductive magnets found in MRIs to the very low temperatures necessary to capture detailed images of organs and tissues. The resource has similar applications in the world of science, where it's often used to conduct research.
One of the things that we're implementing is what we call the flowing atmospheric pressure afterglow source. It's an ion source that allows us to probe a surface and look at the molecules that are on that surface.
There's no substitute for helium when it comes to cooling materials to very low temperatures, which is what it's used for most in the U.S. Scientists, like the ones working in IU's chemistry lab, are trying to find ways to conserve the precious resource. And with some applications, they have been successful.
We've made it so that we can operate the source discontinuously, where we can turn it off for maybe 55 seconds out of every minute and turn it on to simply make the plasma sustained. Sample whatever we might want, maybe in those 5 seconds, maybe in over a 30-second period, and then turn it off when we're not using it, without losing a lot of the stability of the instrument overall.
But a more widespread solution to the problem has yet to be discovered. Until one is, the price of helium will continue to climb, leaving the owners of blast-off balloons wondering how much longer they can afford to be in business.
Someone said, if you want to quit, shut off the number. Well, I can't, because the person on the other end of the line needs some fun.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Barbara Brozier.
And if you're headed to IU Showdown with Ohio State on Sunday, look up to the rafters. It's been 40 years since IU's undefeated season in 1976. Members of the historic team met at Center Court this week to celebrate the anniversary of the championship year. They also paid tribute to their coach, Bob Knight. The NCAA named the squad the all-time March Madness team, and the new banner celebrates the achievement. That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.